Episode 10. I'm so excited. In this episode, I'm going to do some reading today because I've read some information about thalidomide. Because once I started finishing my book and shared with you all on my life about growing up in my life, I wanted to go deeper into thalidomide and to find out for myself what caused thalidomide and what caused my arms to be short. So just give me a minute. I'll put my glasses on because I can't see without them. And then I'm going to start to share with you what I got from the internet about thalidomide. So in this episode, I wanted to look up the thalidomide situation that made us the thalidomiders. So I went on to Microsoft Bing and I researched thalidomide on the web, and I came up finally across a research paper from the Aberdeen University on thalidomide. And of all the places to get this information was from the Aberdeen University, which was where I went back in 1976 with the choir to do the International Choir and Youth Festival in the Aberdeen University. And it was a great experience to be there, and I loved being at the university. But it just so happens that these guys did a study on thalidomide. I don't know why they did a study, whether it was a personal study or whether they wanted to just find out about thalidomide, because it was not very known as to how it happened and all the workings. So if you want to go and research the papers or the information that I'm going to share today, you can go on to Microsoft Bing and research thalidomide on the web, and it'll come across a research paper from Aberdeen on thalidomide. And on the page, that when it comes up, you'll see on the right of the screen, there is a Wikipedia page that you can go to, and it's called, what was it? Thalidomide oral medication. If you click on the wording under there, it will take you to the page where all my information is that I want to share with you today. So the first thing I want to share with you today is that the University of Aberdeen lead team has revealed in their findings that a component of the drug prevents the growth of new blood vessels in the developing embryo, which is an unborn offspring in the process of developing. So I thought that was interesting. That was actually what prevented some of our limbs and our things growing in the womb. And then you'll find that this was a study, I think, back in 2011 or 2017. I'm not sure. But anyway, I clicked on it, and of course, as I've known all along, that thalidomide was sold as Contagen or Thalamid, and it was presented across the counter to a lot of young mums. And the common side effects, there were a lot of common side effects once it became known. And thalidomide is known as a human teratogen, and it carries an extremely high risk of severe, life-threatening birth defects if administered during pregnancy. It causes skeletal deformities, which is what I have because I don't have any bones in my arms, such as absence of legs. Well, I've got legs, but there are others I know who don't have legs or arms. They just have little arms or flippers. And then there's absence of bones. As I said, I've got no bones in my arms. And camellia, which is malformation of the limbs. And again, that's what I have. This is what thalidomide has caused. A single dose of thalidomide, regardless of dosage, is enough to cause these teratogenic effects, birth defects. And it was synthesized by a chemical industry basal, but was found to have no effect on animals and was disregarded as not bad on that basis. But bear in mind, it was never tested on humans. So that's something that we need to know. When first released, thalidomide was promoted for anxiety, trouble sleeping, or tension, if you had tension, and morning sickness. And it was proclaimed a wonder drug for insomnia, coughs, colds, headaches. And doctors gave this out without really knowing what it was. Even they didn't know what it was. They just heard from the pharmaceutical company to say, it is a wonder drug. It fixes everything. But while it was initially thought to be safe in pregnancy, concerns regarding birth defects arose and resulted in finally removing it from the European market in 1961. The total number of infants, get this, severely harmed by thalidomide used during pregnancy is estimated to over 10,000, possibly 20,000, of whom about 40% died around the time of birth. So some of them were in the womb, but when it came to coming out of the womb, they died. And that is incredible, and it's sad. But also I know that sometimes, I don't know if people watch the show Call the Midwife. They did an episode on thalidomide there, and it wasn't shown, but it was speculated or said that some of the midwives suggested that the mothers smothered their babies because they looked so hideous, or they just wouldn't be able to live in this environment. And this was down in the lower class areas where the midwives worked and stuff. And it's just freaky that possibly some mothers did it and they didn't even register their baby when they had their baby. And I mean, that's pretty scary, that this baby was alive, but yet they chose to take the baby's life. And then, of course, those who survived had limb damage, eye damage, urinary tract and heart problems as well. So it was pretty horrific. And during that period, the use of medications during pregnancy was not strictly controlled, and drugs were not thoroughly tested for potential harm to the fetus and offspring of a human. So it wasn't tested as much as it is today. And because of that, that's why all the vaccines and all the drugs are tested, but they weren't back then, and it was pretty hard on the parents. Thousands of pregnant women took the drug to relieve their symptoms. At the time of the drug's development, scientists did not believe any drug taken by a pregnant woman could pass through the placenta barrier, meaning at that time they thought that the placenta would protect the baby, and did protect the baby from any sickness the mum might have had, or any of the common colds and stuff. And so they thought, oh no, the drug won't go past the barrier. But unfortunately, it did, and it harmed the developing fetuses. And then all the abnormalities in the babies started to appear in children being born to mothers using thalidomide. So later in 1959, after that point, in West Germany, thalidomide ceased to be provided over the counter. So there you go. It was provided over the counter. It was just something you go in and ask for and just pay for. It wasn't even needed a script for. Wow. And then in November 1961, thalidomide was taken off the market due to massive pressure from the press and public. So that was a good thing. But in the UK, the British pharmaceutical company, Distillers Company, which was a biochemicals limited, marketed thalidomide throughout the UK, Australia and New Zealand under the brand Distaval as good for morning sickness. They advertised Distaval can be given completely safe to pregnant women and nursing mothers without adverse effect on child or mother. Sound familiar? Didn't something similar to this happen a few years ago? But I will say this, the USA FDA refused to approve thalidomide for marketing and distribution because a lady who soon became a doctor, Frances Kelsey, did not rely on information from the company, which did not include any tests. So, in other words, because there were no results of any testing, she said, no, we can't have this drug in America. And apparently President J.F. Kennedy found out about it, and he stood up on the behind the pulpit sort of thing, and said to the American people, check your medicine cabinets and cupboards, and if you find any of this Distaval or thalidomide, throw it out because it is not any good for anyone. So just get rid of it. And he was the only president I knew who did it. I didn't hear of anyone else who did it. And it was pretty good. Good on you, JFK. It did, however, find its way into America via distribution for testing. So they did finally get some people to get it tested. And it resulted in 17 children born in the US with thalidomide-induced malformations. And I have reached out to a few of those in America. I do know of a gentleman that did live in Australia. I grew up with him, but then he moved to America to get away from things and from situations. So my thing is to you, if you are not sure of any drugs, ask questions. Do a lot of research yourself, and don't just take it on your doctor's advice or someone else's recommendation. It could save your life and your baby's life, even someone else's life. Because of what happened to me, because my mum trusted her doctor without question, and I would have too, and I did at one point, I did trust my doctor. But now I will not take any drug from a pharmaceutical company anymore because of what happened to me. And I go for the healthy alternative and all natural remedies. But also, when I was pregnant with my 2 children, I was determined not to have any pharmaceutical tablets or capsules, because I didn't want anything to happen to my babies that happened to me. And I don't blame my mum for what she did, because she didn't know either. And that was very hard on her when she realised what had happened. But I want to share something with you as well that I found was very, very interesting. Because I'm coming up to the birth defects now and the days that it occurred. So the severity and location of the deformities depended on how many days into the pregnancy the mother was before beginning treatment. With the time-sensitive window occurring approximately between day 20 and day 36, post-fertilization, or after the egg was fertilized. So this is what I found, and I found very, very interesting. Thalidomide taken on the 20th day of pregnancy caused central brain damage. On day 21, it would damage the eyes. On day 22, damage to the ear and face was done. Ears and face. On day 24, damage was done to the arms. Now, I was really interested in that because that's what affected me, my arms. But listen to this. On day 28, leg damage would occur if taken on that day. So, what I was asking and talking about it to a few people, and what they were saying and what the Lord showed me, my Saviour and King, was that up until that point that my mum took the drug on the 24th or 25th day of finding out, after finding out that she was possibly pregnant and starting to feel sick and getting anxious about things, she naively went to the doctor and asked him for something relief, because actually the story goes that I was the second child to come along, and at this time my mum and dad were building a house in Walkham Hills, and mum was thinking it's not a good time to have a baby. But I'm not saying she wanted to get rid of me, but I'm saying that she was just getting anxious and couldn't sleep, and so she thought she better go to the doctor and talk to him. And I say it was a him because there weren't many female doctors around like there are today. And I thank the Lord for female doctors now. They are very important to the female side of life. And I just want to say that the doctor advised Mum to take this tablet. Now, as I said before, I don't think he even knew the consequences of it all. And if he did, he didn't share it with Mum. So anyway, without knowing the consequences of her action, she took thalidomide. And of course, it wasn't until I was born, and even that, in that situation, it was very hard because Mum told me I was due on the 5th of April, but I wasn't born till the 19th. So came the due date. I was trying to get out, but as people know with giving birth, the babies use their arms and their legs. I was able to use my legs, but somehow something happened, and I think Mum ended up finding out that my face or my nose was stuck up against the wall, or just was caught somewhere in the birthing canal. And it wasn't until she had some help, she was going to get help with the forceps, but I don't think she said they ever did use it. I eventually came out. And that's another thing with us thalidomide babies. When we got stuck in the womb, there was that part around our mouth where our mouth and nose were stuck. And Mum used to say when I was a little girl and very hot, that part of around my nose and my mouth would get very red because that was a side effect of it. You don't see it very much today now with me, but when I used to get very red, you could see that. So I wanted to say that up until that time that Mum took the tablet without knowing, I actually had all the potential of being born with arms that the Lord had put in every human body. But it was only because Mum took the drug on the 25th day that it stopped the potential of me having my arms. Because as I said earlier, about the blood vessels. What was it? The drug prevented the growth of new blood vessels in the developing embryo. And it just so happened to be that in that time was when my arms were growing. And because of the interruption with that drug, my arms stopped. So as I said, up until day 24, I was born with all my parts, including my full arms, until the tablet from the big farm interfered with my arms being fully formed. And that just blew me away, because at conception, we are all given everything that we need to be a baby and become a human. Everything, God has put everything into us at that time. And because he said, you were formed from my inward parts. This is in Psalm 139, 13 to 16. I'm going to read this to you. For you formed me, the Lord formed me, my inward parts. The Lord covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvellous are your works, O Lord, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you, when I was made in secret, skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed. So the Lord saw me as a whole, full person. And in your book they are all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there was none of them. And then in Jeremiah 1, chapter 1, 4 to 5, then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So he saw me as a full person. And before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you as a prophet to the nations. Now, not a prophet to everything, but just a prophet or a speaker about this to do with thalidomide. So if my mum did not take the thalidomide drug, then I would be here today with full arms and rejoicing. But I wanted to bring this out because I wanted everyone to know that it is not God's fault. Everyone who is thalidomide, it is not God's fault the way you are. It's because a big farm company came in saying that they had the wonder drug that could fix everything and there was no harm to the baby or the mother. And they lied about that. And they lied, and this is the result of it. So those of us who grew up hating God and also loving him, we have to give honour to God because he never wanted any of this to happen to us. And he didn't want our parents to go through what they went through because of what they did for us, to us. And I am not blaming any parent, any mother or father, because they did not know. They were told a lie. And I want every one of us to question even the big farm today. And I want them to question why they're putting out what they're putting out and what it is. And we need to question about these vaccines too, because there was harm done to people when these vaccines were made. I'm just going to put my glasses down. Because this is a big thing. God doesn't want to harm anybody. He wants to love everybody. And I tell you what, growing up, I hated God for what he did to me because I thought he did it. And I loved him at the same time because he accepted me for who I was. But it got to a point in my life where somebody had to challenge me and say to me, you need to have it out with God because he didn't do this to you, but you blame him for everything. And then I thought, wow, I do. So I did. I had it out with God. I said, God, why did you let me go through this? Why am I like this? Why do people hate me? I hate myself. Why this and why that? And I really fought. I cried. I was angry. I kicked whatever I could. I was in my bedroom. My mother was in the other room. She's probably going, what's going on? And my sister and my brother, oh, no, they weren't there. And maybe my dad. But it's like I really had to have it out with God, because I did. I hated being thalidomide. I hated being spotted in the street. I hated being recognised. And it was hard. And it was hard because every time somebody looked at me and said, oh, there she is, Mum. There she is, Mummy. I hated it. I thought they were going to laugh at me. But now I realise they weren't laughing at me. They were just saying, there's that lady with the short arms, or that girl with the short arms. But my life wasn't exactly happy. I had my very bad days. And sometimes I took it out on Mum. And Mum didn't deserve it, but she took it. And I regret doing that now. But I took it out on everybody. At times I had a chip on my shoulder. And a lot more of you out there have chips on your shoulders. But the best thing was going before my God and asking him to forgive me for what I did, and got angry at my mum and everyone else because it wasn't and him, and because it wasn't him, it was the people and the big farm trying to make a money and make a buck. So all of you people, the little my people, my friends, those I know, those I don't know, you need to have it out with God. If you're a Christian, you need to say to God, why? And he'll tell you why. Because it wasn't him. But he loves you anyway. He sees you as a whole person. And he loves you very much. Just like he loves me. And do you know what? Because after that day, my love for my God grew bigger. And I love him every day. I pray to him. I thank him for what I have. And I thank him that he's looking after me. And he doesn't see me as a disabled person. He sees me as a whole person. And I thank him for that. And I thank my church family who have been around me to help me through it. I thank the Lord that he is a good, good God and a great, great Father. And he loves each and every one of you out there who's watching. And he doesn't deserve to be hated. Because I tell you what, he loves his people. If you're one of his people, he's coming back very soon, sooner than you think. And you need to be ready. But the thing is, with the COVID vaccines, and just because somebody says it's a good thing to do, doesn't mean you do it, because something bad could happen to you through it. So my thing is question and ask and do your own research to do with any drugs, especially from the pharmaceutical companies, because quite honestly, all they want is the money. They don't want to do any good to people or heal people. They want to get their money and they want to get paid for it, and they want to, they think that their drug is the one, but it's not. It could be killing you, and you may not even know about it. So my thing is to question and ask questions, and don't give up until you get an answer, and don't give in, and do not comply. Because there might be another time when they ask you to do something from the government saying, oh, do this for your family, do that for your family. It may not be the right thing, may not be the right time. So question it. And you Christians out there, you need to pray. And you need to pray that the church wakes up and everybody wakes up to what the enemy is doing through the government, because Jesus is coming back very soon and you need to be ready. Are you on the Lord's side or on the enemy's side? That's what I say. Thank you everyone for watching.